Namaskar, everyone. Good evening. Good evening to this beautiful platform, Baatcheet. Baatcheet is the series of conversation with artists who indulge in the various aspects of their creativity, their muse, their inspiration that helps align them with greater God. It helps align the common man with peace and harmony. Baatcheet is all about performing artists, musicians, dancers, actors, singers, everybody who gives a meaning to the soul, who gives peace, harmony to the soul. Baatcheet is all about the people who are beyond the description of words. They are the force who protect the common man. And today we are proud and privileged to have that superlative force with us. Join me in welcoming Lieutenant General PG Kamath. It's an honor to have you here on this platform, sir. And it's very difficult to, I think, introduce a person who is so decorated. So I really do not know, sir, whether I will do justice in introducing you or not, but still I'm trying. So with
Make
utmost
it short.
with utmost humility, I will try to introduce you for our audience. Lieutenant General PG Kamath is an alumnus of Sainik School, Bijapur. He was commissioned in the Madras Regiment in June 1973. He has served in the Indian Army for 40 years. He has served for 15 years in J&K. He has also served for 3 years as Defense Advisor to High Commission of India at Malaysia and Brunei. He was an instructor to the Bhutanese force in Bhutan. He has served in innumerable appointments in command and staff across the country. His last appointment was the Commandant Army War College, where the college trains officers of Indian Armed Forces and also officers from friendly foreign countries in leadership skills, tactics, operational arts, geopolitics, and strategy to junior, middle, and senior level officers. He is one of the highest decorated officers of Indian Army and a recipient of 4 presidential medals in service. That's really commendable, and that's the entire audience needs to know. As a battalion commander on the line of control in Operation Rakshak, he was awarded by the President Sena Medal. As brigade commander again on the line of control during Operation Prakram, Operation Prakram, he was awarded Youth Seva Medal by the President. For the command of the infantry division, he was awarded by the President Ati Vishisht Seva Medal. Again, as commandant of Army War College, he was awarded by the President Param Vishisht Seva Medal. After that, whatever is there, I think whatever I have spoken right now is just a drop in the ocean, what sir is all about. So, sir, first, I want you to introduce yourself because I think I will not do justice when it comes to introducing yourself. You are a powerhouse. You are a person beyond words. So please, I would like you to introduce yourself to our August gathering about your writing skills, about various designation that you have holded and various organizations and nations that you have served. You are an ocean, and I cannot keep on giving the drops to our audience. So I want you to introduce yourself.
Dr. Seema, I am humbled, absolutely humbled. But all the same, all I can take a credit of serving in infantry, the Madras Regiment for 4 decades in the Indian Army. You know, all of you know, infantry is the fighting arm, which fights with the bayonet and steel right in the forward edge of the battlefield. That's, I think, is one of the greatest satisfaction in life. Thereafter, after my tenure all over, it's no use trying to tell I did this, I did that. God has been kind, I have survived. That's enough. And after retirement, I was also selected as a special rapporteur of National Human Rights Commission for 3 states, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, and Karnataka. 2 years gave me a real look into the Indian society, especially at the lower economic edge where our people are. It has wizened me. And thereafter, I have started, after my retirement, I speak on morals, ethics, strategy, China, operational art. And I have written more than around 80 articles which have been published on all these including the latest one where I've said something about the diplomats. The duped diplomats of India is my latest article, and that will do. And thank you, Seema, for giving me an opportunity. And also, Rahul, thanks for this opportunity.
So thank you so much, sir. And again, to the August gathering and audience, please follow sir on LinkedIn if you really want to read his articles. And the beauty about the articles, I think, the title that you have given to your article, that pulls audience to read that. So audience, please follow sir on LinkedIn. And let's start from the beginning, sir. I mean, about your childhood memories, your growing up days. We would like to know more from you. There must be something that is etched in your memory that, yes, this was something I always want to tell to the world.
Seema, you have actually opened a Pandora's box. Whether good things or bad things, I don't know. After all, after living on this planet for 65 years of age, there are so many things which happen. But in the childhood days, I remember at the age of 4, I had a bet with my uncle that uncle said that I'll scare you. I said, I will not get scared. So he took me and he held my ankles upside down and took me to a well, the deep well in my house, and held me like this with my head going into the well and the water, deep water. He said, I will leave you now. Tell that you are scared. Though I was really scared, Seema, you won't believe. But I said, no, I am not scared. Leave me, leave me, leave me. Then my grandfather, grandmother, everyone shouted, what the hell is happening? And he had to pull me out without apparently getting scared, but I was really scared. So that is one thing which I keep on remembering. I also, what you call, admire the risk taken by my uncle. I don't think I would have taken a risk with some other children, even today, to put them upside down in a well and hold on to it for about half a minute or so. So that is one thing. Then I joined the Sainik School. Sainik School at the age of 10. I've been a boarder at the age of 10. And after next 50 years, I retired and came back. So that was my, whatever, one event which really etched in my memory, which I wanted to share with others.
But that's really beautiful. You know, when we say dar ke aage jeet hai, I think this is one incident we can always say that's great. And it takes a lot of courage to say I am not scared. When you are scared, it takes a lot of courage to say. So hats off to your courage. I mean, that is what I think Army has seen in years to come.
Absolutely. So what you said, you know, Seema, even the Army, anyone, when it faces the bullets, one is actually scared. You are overcoming the scare and pretending that you are calm and composed and then do your duty. That's all is about the Army. All what you call, all heroes are the ones who have prayed and what you call, overcome their fear. They are there. That's what is called valor.
So it is good to be scared. It is good to be scared because then you are more conscious and then you know how to face your fears. So that's beautiful. I think I'll always remember that. And next time when you will narrate this incident, you have to say, dar ke aage hai. So tell me one thing, like joining the Army, that was your conscious decision right from the beginning, some inner call, maybe inner call because you were in Sainik School. And I know many students from Sainik School, they see, okay, after Sainik School, it is Defense Forces. So was it something like that, or there was someone who has inspired you to join Army?
Actually, Seema, one thing is, after Sainik School is not Defense Forces. Only about 4-5% join. Others really do not pass the UPSC, the Service Selection Board. It's not an automatic entry from Sainik School to forces. There is a promotion. There is a proper UPSC examination. You have to pass it. So when in Sainik School, you are only having a regimented life. That's all. So when at the age of what you call that, around 2018, when you are appearing, you are as good as anyone else because it's a public service examination. Now coming to what really made me join us at a very young age when I was there. the 1962 war broke out. And I used to ask my father, what is happening? He said, India and China are fighting, and they are fighting. And that is the time it must have subconsciously come into my mind. I told that bedroom is China and this drawing room is India. And I used to go from the drawing room and attack China and come back. You know, a childhood game, a person has a plot, he imagines things, and keep on going and swinging my stick into China and come back. And again, do the raids again and again. I think subconsciously, you know, this must have etched in my mind. And my father was also looking at me with the corner of his eye. And next year, I was appearing for Sainik School and then joined the Bijapur and then the NDA. Thereafter, like a raw material which is put and the final product comes. After I joined, 44 years later, I retired and came.
Wow, that was beautiful. And I like that game, you know, so childhood memories and childhood games can really shape you. Now, when we talk about Sainik School, most of the children, though I know they have to pass NDA, CDS, they have to go through that, but they aspire to join. I think that kind of exposure you get in your school, right? So something about your school life, something about your school life that you would like to share.
School life was absolutely, I was not a very, I was a very mediocre person, to be frank with you. But I used to enjoy the company, enjoy sports, enjoy studies. I was nowhere poor, but at the same time, you can't say I was the brightest in every aspect. No, you know, and there was no deliberate attempt that I have to study in my times. Whatever comes, you take it in your stride and go. And the school is, you know, it's a proper regimented. You have a PT, then you have a breakfast, then you have school routine, then you have a lunch, then you come back to study, then you have a games, then you have a letter writing, then you have a dinner, you have a prayer, you sleep. You know how routine and absolutely streamlined like a horse going through a lane. That's what, not much of imagination though, but it put us in a, what you call, in a frame of mind that you join the armed forces and their career is for you. That particular vision
that's really good. Yes. And why I ask this question is because if we see today's parents, they are more mark centric. Okay, how beautifully you said that, okay, you were not the topper material, but you are a mediocre and people have to look up to you for inspiration. It is not always about marks. It is not that race. That is the message I wanted to convey, and you have conveyed it so beautifully. Because parents need to understand this, that this excess stress that they put on children is really not right.
Absolutely. They lose their childhood.
True, very true. So now my next question that I really want to know, because most of us know that army officers are the real life heroes. You know, it is not about fairy tale. Army is about serving your nation, and the stories that comes out from any army officer, those are the stories that matters to each one of us, because that is not only your story, that is our story, because we are also living in the same country. So I want to know something from you. Some most impactful moment which you feel that, because you're a motivational speaker and a motivational speaker needs to be a good storyteller. So any impactful moment which has turned out to be the most beautiful story of your life?
Yes, Seema, I always wanted to share this. You know, it was in about 25, 28 years back. I was commanding officer on the line of control. I won't say where in J&K. I won't tell you the specifics. And the line of control was there. And the other side was there was a river running in between, small nalas, tributary, small mountain stream running. And this side of the mountains we were holding. And the other side of the mountains, the enemy was holding. And absolutely, we gave no quarters to each other. Anyone who pops his head is killed. I have told there is no way that the enemy who exposes himself should be alive. His dead body should go out of the pond. That are the orders which I have given. And also the enemy was also doing that. You pop your head, sometimes you open a loophole and we fire into it. We open a loophole, he fires into it. It was an intense firing and killing, because I said that I cannot be on a line of control and live and let live with the enemy. No, and my dharma, my duty is to kill the enemy. That is my dharma. That's what we have been paid for. That is our karma yod. We have to fight and we have to kill. This was the atmosphere. Suddenly one day, a commanding officer has got around 30, 40 posts. We go around and see what is happening. We go on visit. So I went to a forward post, and there a youngster was commanding with a platoon. I went and he made a place for me to recce with the binoculars. I was looking in the enemy area. Suddenly, I found in a re-entrant, a kilometer inside into the enemy area, there is a re-entrant and a stream coming down, and there I found a new shelter, a tarpaulin one shelter which has come up. I asked, Manish, last time when I came, this shelter was not there. How come he has come and put this shelter? I told you nothing should move on the enemy side. Even if a bird flutters its wings, it has to be with your permission, with your condescension. How has it come? Actually, in the night, we didn't have night vision devices during those times. You must have put it in the night for a shelter, for an ambush or a patrol, and must have gone. No one can, in his own area, a kilometer into, there is wire obstacle, there is a river, there is a rivulet which is there, the minefield is there on his own area. We can't stop him. I knew it, but I wanted to tell the youngster. I wanted to be straight, at least to drive home the point. Manish, this is not expected from you. Next time, nothing should move, and anyone moves on the other side, it has to die. Is it clear? He said, yes, sir. Then I went out, and after about 10 days, I came back. And then each time the commanding officer is made to stand in a different location, because this location would have been registered by the enemy and he'll fire. A machine gun fire 1,200 rounds in a minute. Means 20 rounds will come, 100 rounds will come in that area. There is no way one can survive. So he put me in a different location, in the same way, different place to see. And I looked through the binoculars. I didn't find the shelter, the one which I had pointed out. I told Manish, am I seeing in the wrong re-entrant? I can't see the shelter. Where is the shelter? Manish was standing with a smile playing on his lips. I told Manish, where is it? He says, sir, you're standing on it. And lo and behold, a Pakistani made, ordnance factory made tarpaulin was below my feet. In that firing, in that intensity, in the midnight, on a moonless night at 9:30, he and 3 men with their AK-47s had crossed the minefields, crossed the wire obstacle, gone into the enemy territory, crawling all the way, cut the shelter, and came back by 4 o'clock in the morning. He didn't tell me. Tears were pooling in my eyes to this. When I narrate it, I still feel the emotion. I told my dear, for the sake of this damn tarpaulin, you would have got killed or something, then I as a commanding officer would have never pardoned myself for my life. I have to take your dead bodies out. And so you see, that is sometimes in army, you hear the call of your heart, not of your mind.
I can still feel goosebumps.
Huh?
I can still feel goosebumps. Seriously.
Then I went out, recollected myself, met my troops, didn't want commanding officer to have tears in his eyes, hugged my boys and went. And that is the story of Manish Mehta and the commanding officer. What a beautiful, and this the true incident which has taken place. I still, when I say this, I experience the same emotions which I did experience about 28 years back.
I can feel that experience in your voice, in your body language, in each and every word that you spoke about. And that is the beauty of our defense forces. You are so true, sir. It is not about your what you have to think. It is the call from your heart. It is the call for your
Absolutely.
nation that tells you to do that. That's simply beautiful.
Exactly.
So I personally believe like you are the real hero. I mean, people who are serving our nation, they are the real hero. So, sir, I want to know now, as I told you, you are a real hero. And for me and for millions of people of our nation, you are the real hero. Who is the hero for you? Who is your hero?
Actually, my hero, I have always admired, and the more I read about him, he's a hero for all times. He's the hero for the country. But he has not been given that much of recognition, unfortunately, due to the politics thereafter. He's actually the Subhash Chandra Bose. We have not understood the dynamism of this person. Out of what you call the house arrest in Calcutta, to go all the way to Afghanistan, then to Moscow, and then to Berlin, and then to Italy, meet Mussolini, meet Hitler, and then Marshall. Look at the amount a single man traveling. Look at the determination, look at his willpower, look at his love for the country, look at his patriotism which has been boosted. Then in a submarine coming all the way to Japan, then raising the 2 divisions of Indian National Army. Look at the dynamism of this person. And you know, Mohandas Gandhi in 1938 and 39 was against Subhash Chandra Bose. He tried to his level best that he should not win the Congress presidency. In spite of Mohandas Gandhi being against him, he won the 2 years. And then he slick maneuvered that he resigned. Such is the greatness of this hero, the Indian hero, the national hero. He is actually the father. He is the one who has given focus to this nation.
And I
the more
completely
I
agree
read,
with you.
the more I read, the more I admire. But we have to read. The youngsters don't know what is Subhash Chandra Bose. We can't go from here to there with a COVID certificate, and here with the entire the power of British Raj being in 1941 here, with all the internal security mechanism. How does he escape to Afghanistan? Can you beat it? And traveling? Now, who can really emulate this great man? You tell me.
Very true. And that is why I think sometimes we feel that the history that is there in the textbook is not showing the picture, which really is the picture. And
Absolutely.
a personality like Subhash Chandra Bose, I think just one page in the textbook cannot justify to what he has done for our nation. And there is, like you said, there is so much to read about it. And all the young generation who is watching our show right now, please read about him. You will understand dynamism.
Absolutely.
You will definitely
Absolutely.
understand.
I am with you. I am with you, Seema.
So let's move ahead, sir. You are very active on social media, and there are many followers also. So I want to understand from you, what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? Not just on social media, but in general also.
See, Seema, we over a period of time of our life, we undergo a different, what you call, the different stages in life. As young officer, I wanted to take the love of my troops will lead me in front and take the whole thing in order to accomplish the mission. To have the entire troops agreeing to me and coming me and following me and accomplishing our mission together is absolutely what you call a person reaches the paradise. That is what a feeling what we have. Then when you become senior, when you become a general officer, your concepts, your operational art, your design of battle, how you look after the men, how you enthuse them, how you enthuse this entire body of troops to accomplish their mission, inspire them and tell them the goal, tell them the aim, and tell this is we are doing because we are the last bastion. If we are not able to do this job, because we are the last arrow in the quiver of the nation, if we can't do this job, and if we fail, the nation fails. There is no one beyond. When all the elements of the power of a nation has failed, and when nothing worse, that is the time you are employed. So we have got on this. That's why the people give their lives, because they know after that there is nothing. It is the last days which you have thrown. After that, there is nothing left in the nation's hand. And if we lose the battle, the nation has lost its prestige, its honor, its civilization. It has come down to its knees. 250 years of slavery this country has undergone. How can we really let go the freedom? That particular spirit, that particular indispensability of that victory, which we try, that is what we have to do. Thereafter, after retirement, then what I really want to do is to impart this nationalism to the youth. This spirit, patriotism, we think patriotism is a gone affair. No, it has to be there. We have this nation to live. We have come out of slavery. If we don't defend and love this nation, who else will? So ultimately, I would want to be heard is son of Mother India who did his best for Mother India. That's all I want to do. We leave a legacy.
That's so inspiring. And parents who are listening to us right now, please teach your children to love their country, because if we won't do that, who else will do that? So very well you have said, and each and every word of yours is like so passionate. I can see that passion, that with the passion that you are living. Hats off to you. One more dimension that is very particular about you is you are a prolific writer. I mean, the number of articles that you have written. Now, when I talk about this generation, a generation who feels that Google knows all the answers, and they have really lost a lot of touch when it comes to reading and writing. How do you instill that spirit in them so that this generation also starts becoming good thinkers, good reader, good writer, because that's needed?
Yes, unfortunately, Dr. Seema, what is happening is there is a lot of what you call video games, and all these are worthless things in life, just a time passage. See, as a person, let us say I have my life's experiences, agree? I got 2 years and 2 eyes experience, and over a period of, let's say, 50 years, one person's experience. Whereas when you read the book, you will go through a range of emotions, am I right? The heights of ecstasy, am I right? The depth of philosophy you can learn, the hostility of the nation, the shenanigans of politicians, the chicanery of bureaucrats, the fantasies of history. All these are cumulative. How can you get it? The wonders of the nature, the mysteries of the space. These are the miracles which are happening in day-to-day life, which others have experienced. Better people, more than the exposure which others have gone. You experience that yourself, am I right? And that is the way you broaden your outlook. Otherwise, what? Google will give you the factual reply. The contradictions in a society, how the society has been involved, what did our ancestors do in our country, what are our scriptures, what is our culture. I am the final product of this particular century. Years and years and years of years have formed for me with the genes of 1,000 years have come and modified themselves to this product. If you look down into the soil has been nurtured by the sweat of your ancestors and the blood of your forefathers who have defended their families, their tribes. This is also fascinating. You just can't live a life of Google and finish it off when the mysteries of the world is so much around you. So how narrow-minded one can be by only looking at the information flow, the inflow in and inflow out. What about the wisdom of our sages? What about the bloody valor tales of our heroes? Huh? All this is imbibed in our culture, in our Vedas, in our scriptures, in our books, fascinating books which people have gone, where they've unleashed their imaginations and taken into so many things which their minds have popped. Huh? The intimacy of your partner, a tingling sensation, what they undergo when the touch is there, all these achievements, all this is so much is there to be learned. When I go to a library, I feel like a nursery child. Oh God, life is so short, so much to learn. Such a poor exposure I have got. When will you enlighten me? So there is all these Buddhism, the Jainism, the Sikhism, the Hinduism. Why are we called the oldest religion on earth? When did the Vedas originate? When fellows were still painting their faces and using the using stone implements. That's the time our Vedas have already come into being. You have to see what you call the fascination and the fantasy of this country. Where will you get it?
True. I mean, this we have to get it from our books. And I mean, the way you have presented everything, I think various genres came alive in front of me. That's so beautiful. And understanding the paucity of time, you have already answered one of my questions, which I wanted to know: what does patriotism mean to you? But I think everything that you have spoken till now is everything is all about patriotism. You have to live it every day, and you are the live example of that. Now, I want to ask you something while we are nearing the closing of this session. What is that one quote that you live by? That is something very close to your heart. And also, what are your pearls of wisdom or golden nuggets that you would like to share with our audience?
My quote in life has been very, I have never been in stress. The reason is that do your best and hell with the rest. When you have done your best, what else you are not? You can't do better than your best, am I right? In your profession, in your examination, everything. Don't repent, do your best, and your best will be good enough for you. That is one thing which I quote. And there is a famous Hindi, what you call, Urdu quote. खुदी को कर बुलंद इतना हर तकदीर से पहले खुदा बंदे से यह पूछे बता तेरी रजा क्या है. Means elevate the divinity in you to such a high level before a mission that God will seek your permission before deciding on the outcome. Is one thing, you so have confidence in you, have the God in your heart. See, every soldier believes in God. Otherwise, he can't do his job, his mission. That is much beyond one's. You have to overcome your instincts of self-preservation, isn't it? And that's what you do. And that is one thing. And the golden nuggets, if you have to say, is there is no shortcut to hard work. I always remember Longman's, Longfellow's, this one, heights the great man reached and kept were not done in a sudden flight, but they, when their companions slept, were toiling upwards through the night. So you have to work hard. There is no shortcut to work. And God bless all of you.
Wow, so many golden nuggets have given, and right from the beginning till right now, I think each and everything that you spoke about was so inspirational. And if all of us, we follow this, trust me, India will become the best nation that we want. And it's not just on 15th August or 26th January. I think each and every day we have to live patriotism. And that is the message I think I got from your entire deliberation. Such a powerful voice. And if we do not listen to this voice, I think somewhere down the line, we are not listening to what is needed Beautiful, sir. I think cannot thank you more. And thank you, Russell of Book Club, for bringing sir here on this platform so that diverse audience can listen to him. It is very important to get the story right from the horse's mouth, as we say, because this no book will give you. This is coming directly from the heart, and that matters a lot. So thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Seema, and thank you, Rahul, for this opportunity. And God bless and Jai Hind.
Thank you, Rahul. I think we managed time. Rahul was a little worried about time. I said, don't worry. It is the last question. We'll be able to manage. And defense people are very particular about time.
I was there early.
Yes, I was also there
early.
Yes. Yeah. No, recording is going on, but I think that much of editing can be done. Yes, Rahul, there are 2 minutes, 43 seconds left. So thank you, sir. It was really, really an honor to have you here. And thank you, Rahul, for calling, sir, because again, I firmly believe that our younger generation needs to listen to all of you. Then only they will understand how precious our country is and how precious is freedom to them. They really do not cherish it because they haven't earned it. So it's important that they need to know that. They need to know that. So thank you, Rahul.
Jai Hind.
Yeah, Jai Hind, sir. Jai Hind. Thank you. Thank you, Rahul. Rahul, can we leave now? Thank you, sir. Stay connected. I will call you once to address my students also in my school.
Certainly. Certainly.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Jai Hind. Bye.